Welcome to the 2021 Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and I'd like to congratulate this year's class. I would like to, how many decent high school graduates do we have here? Raise your hand. Hey, look at them. All right. I'd like to thank you for your attendance. I know it means a lot to the Hall of Fame members. Also, I'd like to give a special welcome for the returning members. There's several people here. Would you guys stand up? Hall of Fame members that are here. All right, thanks. I'd like to congratulate Marissa Sewell on her, she is now athletic director for Collier County. And I also want to thank her for doing this slideshow with us here. There's no enough of it. I'll just talk into it.
That's better.
I'd also like to thank Jen. Jen, please stand up away there in the back. She handled all the voting, the process of voting this year, sent out all the ballots, tabulated everything. And she's also been a big help during the year when I needed to get another perspective. Jen, by the way, last night we were introduced on the football field before the game, and Jen brought two kids, 2 or 3. Did you see one of them doing barrel rolls down that hill? Okay, it's good form. There are 2 others. Mike Butler, are you here? Okay, Mike's not here. Bill Halsey is. Mike is always, I wanted to thank him because he's always been available to provide his perspective as a former player, fan, teacher, and coach. Mike really is kind of a fountain of knowledge concerning all of high school athletics. And he has been a big help in helping put together nominees. He's got information, he knows all the former players. And then he'll sometimes put in the extra effort to get stats for those players. We're also lucky to have Bill Halsey. You probably know Bill Wade, Bill, wherever you are, in the back. Bill has been a long-term sports player and sports editor for the Star Democrat, starting in the 80s, right, Bill? Yes. And he also is a really good source of information because of all the coverage he's done during the years. Bill was at the game last night, and I didn't know what to expect. We had like 8 of us that were announced and put on the field, and I didn't know if it'd be a big flop or whether we would beat before, whether anybody would really care. But it turned out really good. I think we all really enjoyed it. And Bill was there last night as well. And I could tell that Bill has made, he's helped me a lot in terms of talking about things that you might want to do with the Hall of Fame and so forth. But I could also see when the players that were being inducted this year were there, and they saw Bill, there were a couple bear hugs going on. It was really kind of inspiring to see the fact that Bill had made this connection with players over the years. I would also like to thank we have a golf tournament to help support the Hall of Fame. And I wanted to thank our former and current tournament sponsors. We've had this for 3 years now. Shore United Bank, Queenstown Bank, Hill Hospitality, Chip and Patty Wilson, Rocky Mainsburg, and DC Utilities. I would also like to thank Oakland Alumni Association for their efforts to honor former players from their very successful and multiple state championship basketball teams, and for their financial contributions to help the Hall of Fame. Buck Miller and Neil Webb do a nice job of directing this effort to support our organization. I would like to recognize, because this has been an effort with me, but sponsored by those 2 gentlemen, to recognize past players from Moton, to keep that aspect of Moton alive. We're now one school, but they have made contributions to, in honor of the following: David Chase, John Robert Bobby Blake, James Jimmy Brown, everybody had a nickname, Barry Smitty Smith, Vernon Bobby Brooks, Howard Campy Camper, Jesse Gregory Webb, Charles Baines, Raymond Copper, Atlas Flaxman, Alton Pete Jenkins, and Charles Banks. So thanks to you guys for your continued support and recognition of those players. I'd also like to thank Mark Kaufman. He's the tall guy right there with the camera. Mark has been making videos for us for the previous few years and again this year. And he's been doing this up to this point on his own dime. Mark, we're going to give you something this year. So I'd like to recognize him for his effort. We have a website. And on that website are the two videos. The video from the first year and the second year. This one will also be loaded. Mark did ask me a little while ago, he said, has anybody commented on the videos, whether they like it or don't like it, or is there something else they'd like to see? And really that hasn't been the case. The website's only been up for about 2 months, so I'm not sure how many people have really looked at it. The website address is in this program at the bottom of one of the pages. So you might want to go through there. And if you do have any feedback, and you wanted to contact me or Mark, just send me an email or something and I'll let them know. Okay, we're done with the thank yous. I hope I didn't miss it. We all have memories of our time in high school, and for this group here, especially in athletics. It was great to hear from our inductees during the first 2 ceremonies, as they spoke about their sports memories, the hard work they invested, the lessons they learned, and the things they achieved. These memories and stories are worth preserving, along with others that are yet to be told. Collectively, they tell the tale of the athletic history of Easton High School in Lowton. We learn about the players, the great teams of the past, the records that were set and broken, the championships won, the honors received, and the coaches that were positive role models. I would also like to add that it was truly a great experience to take part in that pre-game ceremony last night. I think I can speak for everyone else in saying that it exceeded our expectations, so thank you for that too, Christian. The members that attended, not everybody knew everybody, but I feel like Steve Raising, I hadn't seen him in a while. We had talked on the phone, and there were a couple other people, but Kelly was there. It was really good. You almost feel like it's part of a family now, and I think everybody had a good time. The website, the Easton High School Hall of Fame website was launched a couple months ago. Hopefully some of you have seen it. But it will serve as a framework to showcase the members, articles, pictures, yearbook pictures, and videos of the ceremony. It may be a little difficult to navigate because you may have one way of searching that you think would fit, and you may have to scroll through some other areas. But in general, there are yearbook pictures. There are articles by year, sometimes by sport. It depends how tired I get of lumping everything together and renaming things. Because I have to go to the library or online and look up the year and then go through all the pages to find a sports article and then make a copy of it, then rename it, and then send it to the people at that handle the website. So there's a lot involved in that, and I would like, and if any of you have pictures, I can make copies of those and get them loaded as well. There's quite a few years of sports that are in there, especially for the years that are represented here by different players. We also will have pictures, if you supply them, and articles for each member. If I can get them, I'll load them under their name. So if you search for Steve Raising and you click on his name, you'll see the articles. Now I've got some questions for you. If Mike Butler was here, I'm sure he'd get all of them. But this will just give you an idea of some of the people that are in the Hall of Fame. You may try to guess who they are. And They also need an idea what information is on the website. So if you don't have to answer these, you can answer them up here. I'll have a bonus question at the end. In what year did Easton High School have an undefeated state championship basketball team? Good. All right, we can keep score if you want. Write down who said that, and then you got one ready. Who has a street named after her in her honor? Good. Good. This is better than trivia, right? Who played on the Little League World Series team? Good. Who broke multiple field records in track? Yeah. No, field. Field. I was on that hard surface. He was inside. How many state titles have we won in softball? You don't know? I don't know the answer. Just between 3 and 6. More than 3 and less than 10.
That's fair.
All right, all the others are all right, but this one is, I'm really a little disappointed. Okay. Which coach brought back football and also started other sports in the EHS? Who? Yes. Which duo won state titles in tennis? First, look for the first. Michelle Devine and Katie Short. Who won wrestling and a track state championship?
Wrestling, track.
You did, right?
Not track.
Not track?
No. Just wrestling.
But we're still looking for the right answer. Who was the Mountain basketball coach who won multiple state titles? Right. Who played in the CFL for several seasons? Right. That's right. Right. Which players were drafted by Major League Baseball?
Gerald Robinson.
Gerald Robinson was one. Chris Blue. We've had a couple others. Who won 16 letters and was a standout in 4 sports? First class, Jared Morgan. Which member was named after a boxer? Remember a guy named Marciano? Rocky. All right. How many state titles has ES1 in soccer and field hockey? I don't know either. Okay, here's, this is the last one, I'll do the bonus one. Which softball Hall of Fame duo consists of a very formidable power hitter with a rocket arm and a pitcher that seems to be unhittable? What do you think, Jen? Pardon?
Medical.
Right. Now, here's the bonus one. I don't think anybody's going to get this, so this is a challenge. Who was the only person to have played on basketball teams coached by Gary Shazer and Mike Krzyzewski? Tommy Wood. He didn't play at Duke, but he was in the Army.
That's
There you go. Well, as far as the Hall of Fame selections go and the voting, each year I've gotten a little bit of criticism, really not that much. I don't want to dwell on this, but I will just but mention one comment that was made. That person said he didn't think the players from years ago are as good as the current players. And the reason was along the lines that today there are more games, more practices, stronger competition, travel teams, better coaches. This guy was a coach too. Better nutrition, better equipment. All other tracks and the boys and girls are generally bigger and stronger. And I said, well, yeah, there's some truth to all that. There's something wrong with part of that comment. But I said, you can, I'm saying now, you can reverse the tables to some extent by saying that it's amazing that the athletes from 40 years or more ago played as well as they did with wool baseball jerseys, no sliding pants, wooden bats, antiquated backboards, no dunking allowed, no three-pointers, no receiving gloves for football, inadequate helmets, canvas, tents, or Converse basketball shoes, no breathable or wicking fabrics, heavy running shoes, spiked running shoes without heel support, muddy or soft tracks, insufficient landing pits for long jump and triple jump, unsafe pole vault landing area, mandatory salt tablets at football practice, which doesn't happen anymore, infrequent water breaks, no Gatorade, no protein bars, Johnny Unitas era football cleats, hard bumpy fields for soccer and softball, and field hockey, and lastly, sundials instead of stopwatches. That's a joke. Those sundials. All right, so the whole thing going forward, there's still I hope we can keep this going. Right now, just so you know, this is somewhat interesting. The current membership consists of 21 individual members, 3 coaches, and 1 team. The representation by decade is as follows: 4 from the 60s, 5 from the 70s, 4 from the 80s, 6 from the 90s, and 2 from the thousands. So, the one thing I'm trying to keep an eye on going forward is that we don't take or induct too many people too soon and we start our nominee list starts to shrink. Now there's one more thing. Roger Bryant, coach at Bowdoin, was inducted the first year 2 years ago. And it was unbelievable to see him at his age or any age get up here and give the speech he gave. It was really pretty inspiring. Last year, about this time, he passed away, and I've asked Clark Miller to come up and say a couple things in memory of Coach Bryant.
Thank you, Eric. What happened is, Eric asked me if I would say a few words about Coach Bryant, or he would do it. I asked him for the honor and the privilege to do it. Because Coach Bryant coached me for 3 years prior to my graduation. I didn't realize just how good he was in teaching and parenting his athletes. The record speaks for itself. He ran off 6 straight years of state championships, which means he had 6 different teams that he molded into winners. Not just winning, but the way you won, the attitude you had came from him. And for that, I'm proud to stand and tell you tonight that Coach Roger Bryant gets my vote as the top coach in the world. Along with that, I never had a chance to tell him. The year he was inducted, I was late getting here, but I was proud to come in the room and see the folks that came out to support and to give him the honor that he deserved. For that, I thank you all, and I ask that you continue to do the things that you're doing, recognizing individuals, not just for their athletic ability, but for their quality of teaching people, their quality of caring for one another. So with that, I ask you to keep it going. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll go up here another 30 seconds so you can. What we're going to do now is go by this chart as far as the person that introduces the new Hall of Fame member, Chris Gooch. was supposed to go on a Mediterranean cruise last year. COVID came and got canceled, and he's on it now. So next year he will be here. Steve is here, I'm here, Bruce is here, Brian Niski called me a little while ago. He's getting old. He was limping last night, and going back to the car, he said he was in intense pain, and then went in to try and get some medicine today to help alleviate it. He says he just couldn't face coming here in the shape he's in. So he's going to be, he'll come next year. Also, Bill Turner. Something came up with him, a personal matter, and he has to, he had to leave town, he'll get back tomorrow, but that doesn't do us any good here. So for the awards, Steve will come, or your presenter will come up first. After that person is done, and after you're done, then Tyler, my grandson over here, will bring you your award, and then then you take a seat, the next person comes up. At the end, we can do all we can go picture with you with this screen while the other person's coming up. And then at the end, if you want to do any family pictures or group pictures, then we can do that then. Okay, so we got to...
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Nice to be first. My name is Barry Hines, and I'm honored to be here to introduce my cousin Steve and tell you a little bit about him before he comes up and talks. So a lot of you know him, obviously we mentioned already. So I'm going to go through a few things and introduce him. So Steve is a member of our family the family was very talented in a couple distinct areas, music and athletics. Steve's grandfather, Norman Ray, played organ and piano at Asbury Methodist Church here in Easton for over 60 years. His father, Emil Ray, played the alto sax in the Army during World War II and with a local band in the Easton area. His mother, Bertha Ray, was a vocalist in the local band in addition to singing and occasionally playing the piano in Asbury Methodist Church choir. She also played basketball in high school. Steve's cousin, J.D. Hines, my brother, and our uncle, Ronald Gibson, who's the brother of our two mothers, played basketball on the championship team. Forward coach, Roger Bryant, from Milton High School. And I'll mention just briefly, Steve's youngest brother, Darryl, is in the back taking some pictures for us. Steve was interested in both music and sports. By the time he finished high school, he was an accomplished musician, played the bass clarinet in the Easton High School Band, Maryland All-Shore Band, also learned to play the trumpet, baritone, French horn, and bass guitar. Steve was selected as a member of this year's Easton High School Athletic Hall of Fame because of his accomplishment as an athlete, sportsman, and leader during his high school year. As a high school athlete, Steve played 3 sports every year for 4 years, which included varsity football, 2 years. He was a wide receiver, and he was also Bayside All-Conference, on the Bayside All-Conference team in 69. He played varsity basketball for 2 years as a forward, varsity track for 3 years, where he did long jump, triple jump, high jump, 180 low hurdles. We had a debate about that. And in relay team. Won multiple local, regional, and state ribbons and medals. He was co-captain of the football and basketball team in 69. He was co-captain of the track team in 70. He was Easton High School Athlete of the Year in his junior year, which would have been 69, I believe. Vice President of the Tribe his senior year, and best senior class athlete in class of 1970. As a wide receiver, Steve was recruited by several colleges in Maryland, North Carolina, on the strength of his academic record and athletic accomplishments. Steve earned an appointment to the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. He played football for 2 years at the Academy as a wide receiver and running back. The Academy recruited very few athletes for the track team. Most of their track athletes were walk-ons from other sports like basketball and football. Steve joined the track team as a freshman and excelled in jumping events. He was one of the few athletes at the academy who could take off from the free throw line and dunk the basketball. You put that in there. I didn't do that. Steve became a key member of the Naval Academy's track team that was undefeated in dual meets for all 3 years that he participated as a long jumper and triple jumper. As a senior, he set and broke his own triple jump record multiple times. He also qualified to participate in the NCAA track and field outdoor championship during his senior year. His triple jump record lasted for 17 years. That's at the Academy. Yeah, the Academy. Steve became a member of the U.S. Naval Academy Sports Hall of Fame for track and field in 1974. As a musician, during his junior years, he started this at the Academy, his first all-black R&B soul band at the Academy. Next coming spring, he will perform at the Academy celebrating 50 years together in the Academy and the R&B team. After graduation from Annapolis, Steve went to flight school, became a naval pilot. He earned his wings in '76, assigned to a training squadron 27 in Corpus Christi, Texas, as a T-28 flight instructor. In addition to training student pilots, he served as the athletic officer for the squadron. In his position, he played coach football, basketball, and winning the base championship in both sports. His next assignment was with Patrol Squadron 40 at Naval Air Station Moffett Field in California. He became a P-3 Orion patrol plane commander and flew anti-submarine warfare missions in the Pacific and Indian Oceans. He also played on his squadron and base basketball teams. After active duty, Steve joined the Naval Academy Reserve and continued to fly P-3s for an additional 9 years. He retired from the Naval Reserve in 2002 as a commander with 28 years of service. Thank you. During his military career, Steve visited countries on nearly every continent and flew over 5 of the 6 oceans of the world, including inside the Arctic Circle. Steve's primary job after active duty was as an operational support engineer at Lockheed Missiles and Space Company in Sunnyvale, California. He worked on ballistic missile systems, satellite ground systems, and satellite systems, including the Hubble Space Telescope. He spent 11 years at Lockheed before leaving California and moving to the Atlanta area, where he was hired as an airline pilot. Steve spent the next 23 years as an airline pilot with ValueJet, AirTran Airways, and Southwest Airlines. And just to mention, I think it was ValueJet that you caught on fire on the runway and survived, and everybody survived. At the end of his aviation career, he had logged over 3,000 hours of flight time in 4 military aircraft, the T-34 Mentor, the T-28 Trojan, the TS Street Tracker, and the P-3 Orion. Then he also clocked 21,000 hours of flight time in 2 commercial aircraft, the McDonnell Douglas DC-9 and Boeing 717. After retiring from the airlines, he obtained a building license to assist his wife Diane, who's here with us, with her real estate business. He was active in the local community and ran for mayor in 2019. Placed third in the election, missing a runoff by just under 200 votes in the city of 55,000 residents. That's pretty good. And the ultimate winner won based on, in part, Steve's endorsement of him. So, as you can see, Steve has been serving the country, serving his community, serving his family, and it's my honor being his cousin and having played in the shadow for a long time in high school to introduce Steve Grace.
The free throw?
I would like to thank everybody for all the great work he's done to establish Easton High School Hall of Fame. We were teammates in the late 60s.
We're aging ourselves.
I thought I was in the early 70s.
Also like to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. It's truly an honor to be a member of the class of 2021. I'm humbled and grateful to join the great student athletes and coaches of both Easton and Wilton High School, selected for the Easton High School Hall of Fame. I'd also like to thank my parents, Emil for raising me, my sister Vicki, my brother Darrell, a host of aunts and uncles, cousins, friends who supported me in all my high school activities. Many of them are here with me today. I must also thank my coach, Bob Burris. I played football for Mr. Burris as a wide receiver as a freshman on the freshman team during the fall of 1966. I really wanted to play baseball in the spring, but Mr. Burris had other ideas. He was also the freshman track coach, bound and determined to have me on the track team. I heard a rumor that Mr. Burris had actually talked to the baseball coach to convince him to make sure I ran track. And that's what happened. I did that for 4 years in high school. I became a student of the game in track, in addition to football and basketball. I loved all three sports, and was convinced that I could compete in all of them. As long as I got good grades, my parents let me play all three of them. And I believe that I had three major assets that allowed me to be successful in high school sports: speed, good hands, jumping ability. In football, I could elude defenders or jump over them to catch the ball. In basketball, I enjoyed rebounding, scoring in the paint, running the fast break, and blocking shots. And you had to be able to jump at 6'1" to be able to do all that stuff, especially with the taller players. In track, I just loved running faster, jumping higher, and farther than the competition. And whenever I did the long jump, high jump, or the triple jump, I felt like I was flying. Little did I know that eventually I would transition from jumping to actually flying airplanes in the Navy and the Air Force. I have many great memories during my time as an athlete in Easton High School. I enjoyed going to practice almost as much as playing in the games, which was rare. I especially enjoyed the rivalry between Easton and Cambridge, Easton and James and Bennett, and Easton and North Carolina. I have one story I'd like to share, and Rocky can appreciate this one, about my 2 years of varsity football and eventual admission to the Navy Academy. As a sophomore, I was quarterback on the JV football team. Again, Mr. Burris's idea. I did not want to be a quarterback, but he thought I had the skills to do it. I was a receiver. Fast forward to the last varsity game of the season, Easton versus Macy's Lane in Cambridge. The entire football team, both varsity and JV, traveled to the game in uniform. Now, Macy's Lane was always a powerhouse in basketball, especially when they played the likes of Logan and various other schools, but not football. And I believe this was probably the first year they had a football team. They had a lot of speed, but were really not a very good team with very little discipline, I hate to say. Seconds before the end of the game, Easton was winning 47-25. Coach Chickarelli at the time called my name to go in for the last two plays. I was told to take the ball from the center and just fall to the ground. Well, on my first play, I did just that. However, Macy's Lane defense wanted some payback and decided to take their frustration out on me. The linemen and linebackers piled on top of me, twisting both my ankles, trying to tear off my jersey as I was trying to go back to the huddle. The team called me every name you can imagine, and it was not a lot of fun. Macy's Lane fans cheered for their defense. On the last play of the game, it happened again. If this is what I could expect as a quarterback, I wanted none of it. From that day forward, I promised myself I would be a wide receiver on the Easton High School football team, by any means necessary. My quarterbacking days were over. Over the next 2 seasons, I was a wide receiver, made some great catches, scored some touchdowns. I also played a few games as a defensive back, and I hated defense. I made a few interceptions. But with Mr. Burris's help, My performance got the attention of coaches and recruiters from several colleges, including the Naval Academy. I visited the academy, attended a couple of football games, and decided that that's where I want to go to school, to continue my athletic career and get a great education. I played football, ran track for my first 2 years. However, playing 2 sports in college can be a very difficult task, especially at a service academy where the academics are very demanding. So for my last 2 years, I chose only to run track. Jim Gerdes was the head track coach at the Naval Academy. He was a very successful coach and an All-American hurdler at Penn State University when he was in college. The assistant coach, Al Cantello, was the primary coach for the field events. He was a 2-time All-American at LaSalle University, a former world record holder in the javelin, and a member of the 1960 Olympic team. Under the guidance, training, and leadership of these 2 great coaches, I got faster and stronger. I lowered my 40-yard dash speed to 4.4 seconds and became strong enough to squat 350 pounds. At the time, I was 175. With improved speed, strength, and technique, I added 4 feet to my long jump and 6 feet to my triple jump performances in high school. My best jump was long was 24 feet, 4 inches, and my triple jump was 50 feet, 1.5 inches. During my senior year at the academy, Coach Cantello told me that I was just learning how to jump efficiently. I surely wish I could have continued my track career after graduation, but I was about to start a new life in aviation. I'm one more person to thank for all that she has done and continues to do for me, our children and grandchildren. That person is my beautiful wife, Renee. She never saw me participate in sports in high school or college. However, she was forced to listen to all the stories that I told her, our children and grandchildren, about what I did, especially in football and track. After today, I think she may believe some of them were actually true. My success in college athletics and throughout my 45 years in aviation could not have happened without the assistance of 2 groups of people. First group is my parents and family, who taught me to always set the bar high and not be afraid to try something new. The second group is the teachers and coaches at Easton High School, who provided me with a solid foundation in education and sports. To all these people, I say thank you. God bless you. The Warriors.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone who made this event possible tonight. I know a lot of the volunteers have spent countless hours researching stats, especially using the microfiche in the library, interviews with different inductees, as well as organizing the golf tournament and different activities to help make this event successful. This is the 3rd year that I have attended this event, and I always leave here so impressed with how much hard work and dedication all these Hall of Fame athletes put in on and off the field for work. My dad, Gary Ray, included. He put in extra time running after high school practices as well as on weekends, always striving to earn a better time in the next race. This habit developed into a lifetime love of exercise. In addition to running, included bicycling and other sports. In fact, he either ran or rode his bike every evening after work long after he finished high school, even when he was tired, stressed, or really just didn't feel like doing it. Even on family vacations, we would have to leave Disney World and the Magic Kingdom at 5 o'clock, so my dad could go back to the hotel and exercise, and we could go out to dinner or go back to our activities. My dad didn't run track or cross country when he was a freshman. He was still committed to pony baseball at that time. And it was only after running a few times in PE that he realized that maybe he should try out for track or cross country. So in 1966, when he was a sophomore, he ran cross country. He started out as the 4th man on the team and ended up the 2nd fastest by the end of the season. In 1967, he was still a sophomore and participated in track. During the 1967 track season, he placed first 3 times, second 2 times, and had 1/3 of the place finish. In that year, his best time was 5 seconds shy of the school record. Due to his success in the 2-mile race, he asked to run the 1-mile race, where he placed second with a time of 5 minutes and 2 seconds, which was less than 2 seconds from breaking the school record. Finally, in 1967, he also ran on a mile relay team. In 1967, he was in the cross-country junior meets, and this was his junior year. The 1967 cross-country meets, his junior year, was a season full of breaking records. In the first meet with St. Michael's, he set a new course record. In the next meet, he set a new Easton course record against Cambridge. Then he set a new course record at J.M. Bennett. In the Cambridge Invitational, he broke the course record by 24 seconds. He broke his Easton High School course record in a home race against Queen Anne. Then he won the race against North Carolina. He broke his record again in a tri-meet with Macy's Lane in North Dorchester, finishing second. He broke the St. Michael's course record again in the district meet, finishing second. He finished 7th in the state meet. The state meet was always held on the hilly Western Shore, which was a big advantage for the Western Shore runners. And then finally, during the spring award ceremony, Mr. Lord presented him with a cross-country award. And hi, Mr. Lord, it's good to see you tonight. In 1968, he did cross-country and football. They only had 1 race that year in cross-country, and he won the only race that year by 50 seconds, and then played football for the balance of the season. In 1968, at the state indoor track meet at the Maryland National Guard Army, this was a meet that was open to AAA, AA, single A, and B schools that were all represented. The first meet was on February 10th. My dad set a new school record in the mile run with a mile run of 4 minutes and 51 seconds. He finished in 5th place among all milers from 32 schools in attendance. The second meet had 43 schools participating. He broke the school record in the mile run with a time of 4 minutes and 48 seconds for a 9th place out of 75 milers. He also ran the fastest 440 ever run indoors or outdoors by a Easton High School runner with a time of 52.3 seconds for the first leg of the mile relay. Brian, would you like to come up and finish?
Sure.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm Gary's son. I'm just going to kind of lead off where my sister Allison left off. So starting in 1968, my dad was undefeated in the mile during the season. He broke his previous mile record of 4 minutes 48 seconds in the district meet with a time of 4 minutes 43 seconds. He won the mile and the mile relay in the district meet, which was a new school record in both events. He also set a new school mile record of 4 minutes 39 seconds in winning this mile race in the state meet. In addition, he was a member of the mile relay team that was given a 2nd place finish in a controversial decision. Easton High School set a new school record of 3 minutes 32 seconds in the state mile relay. He opted to run the first leg of the mile relay instead of the anchor and broke his previous quarter-mile indoor-outdoor time of 52 seconds, 52.3 seconds specifically. with the new school record time of 51.7 seconds, but wasn't given credit for that record. In 1968, my dad was the fastest runner from the quarter mile to 2 miles in school history. He was undefeated running the mile during the 68 season. He won his mile race in the state meet. He ran the fastest quarter mile ever for Easton High School, and then broke his own record by 0.6 of a second while running the first leg in the state mile relay. He was usually the anchor on the mile relay team, which set a new school record 3 times. He broke his mile school record 5 times by a total of 21 seconds and showed an unmatched dedication for training throughout the year. Another member of that team on the 1968 squad was a senior runner that was the second fastest quarter miler on the team, was not undefeated for the season, was 4th in the state meet quarter mile, and scored less points during the season. At the end of the season, there was an award ceremony with the entire school in attendance. The coach for each sport presented the award to the best performer on each particular sport. In some sports, it can be difficult to determine a clear-cut winner. An example being, in baseball, do you award the pitcher with a 9-0 record or the batter with the highest batting average in the team RBI year? However, in track, stats are a little bit easier to evaluate. The comparison between my dad and the other team member obviously shows who deserved the award. After all, how can you give the award to someone, to a quarter miler that isn't even the fastest on the team? By doing so, you pretty much cheated the award rather than enhancing it. On to the next year, 1969. My dad ran the 880 mile anchor from the mile relay team in most meets. He broke the school record for the mile by a 1/10 of a second with 4 minutes, 39 seconds in the first meet. Also broke the half mile record with a 2-minute, 8-second against Queen Anne, followed by a new record time of 2 minutes and 7 seconds against Dorchester. And again, ran a faster time in the Milford Invitational. The record was written on a piece of tape on a board in the locker room, showed the half-mile record as 2 minutes. This was wrong. It was actually 2 minutes and 11 seconds. He would have beaten the 2-mile record by 50 seconds, but was not allowed to run in. The reason given was that the team needed 5 additional points gained by running and winning another race. The problem is the team only won 1 meet, and all the losses were by 12 or more points. Even the 1 meet win wasn't a factor because Easton won that meet by over 20 points. My dad also won the district meet, while district meet mile with a new school record of 4 minutes, 37 seconds, which still stands after 53 years. And anchored the winning mile relay team with 8 other teams represented. Lastly, he received the track award in 1969, but my dad believes that he and speed raising should have been co-winners, recognizing the best winner and the best field performer on the team. With that being said, congrats, Dad.
Well, that sounds real nice, doesn't it? Even for me, I didn't realize how many numbers were being flashed out. Before I go any further, I better recognize my wife as well, Steve. I'm glad you did it first, right? Get yelled at on the way home. In my family, I've got 3 grandkids. Allison has 3, and my son Brian has 1. My daughter-in-law's here, my son-in-law's here, my brother's here. So it's a pretty big family affair. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent looking at this, rewriting speeches, writing one for Rocky, and writing one for Brian, and then doing this one again, and then thinking I'm done, then doing it again, and again this morning, and again over there. So I'm not even sure what I'm going to say, but I haven't cut it shorter. So here we go. I want to thank the Hall of Fame members for selecting me. Congratulations to all the other new members. This is a very gratifying moment for me, and I'm honored to be selected. I also want to say that although I'm proud of what I accomplished, I am not at the same level as most of the members due to their excellence in local sports. However, through sheer determination and hard work, I was able to achieve more than my natural talent would indicate. Everyone knows no doubt, I know where I stand. As a seventh grader at Oxford Road High School, I looked up to guys like Jack and Joe Anthony, Jerry Borga, Steve Salisbury, and others. I went to all the football games, even helped them in the booth, in the announcer's booth, while doing the spotting for the radio station. I was in all of those older guys playing football, basketball, baseball, and dreamed someday of playing on those same fields. Now, standing here today, more than 50 years ago after graduating, more than 50 years after graduating, I have that same level of respect for what our current members have accomplished. It's really eye-opening when you hear all the speeches year after year. So while I'm running, I've asked myself that too. I had done well in races in a physics class and thought I could maybe do a little better. I was familiar with cross country because Mr. Moore had hit for science 2 years and chemistry, I think. And I worked for 1 year. So I knew who he was, and I was friends with John LaPlante, who said he was a cross-country runner and track, and he thought that ought to come out. So he eventually talked me into it. And I can honestly say, I don't think it would have been in the streets or anything, but my life was is a lot more rewarding than I think it would have been if I hadn't started running. And finally, the one other reason was I just turned 15. John and Bruce Perry were older and we both had a car. So by joining the team, I was assured that I would have a ride to and from school instead of having to walk a mile and a quarter each way. However, while preparing these remarks, it occurred to me that to avoid walking a mile and a half to school, I was willing to run mile after mile each day in practice just to get a ride to and from school. Something's not quite right, but I'm glad I did. Mr. Moore was a good coach and was familiar with training methods, having been on the track and cross-country teams at Bridgewater College. Because of this experience, he was able to relate to us and provide insights to what physical and mental obstacles we might experience during a race. Because as some of you may guess, going out there and trying to run a mile or 2 miles as fast as you can doesn't always leave you with a pleasant experience physically. He also provided something called hot stuff before the meets, which if applied to the calf muscles, it would relax them like a hot towel and help prevent cramping or tightness during the race. Nobody knew where he got this stuff. The rumor was that it was concocted in his chemistry lab. I don't know. In the spring, I ran track and had some pretty good results. After school ended for the summer, this was after 10th grade, I decided to start training for cross country. A few days later, I was running laps on the Ottawa track, and Don Marble came running up and introduced himself. Don was to start teaching at Easton in the fall. He was a 1960 graduate and former runner for Mr. Moore. After the workout, we decided to continue running together so we could push each other in order to improve. Because one thing I figured out is that all these other guys that were on track team and cross-country teams didn't run after the season. And since I had this insatiable desire to be recognized, I figured out that if I did that, I'd probably do better. So we started running and decided to keep doing that after that workout. If I told you that we ran every day, you probably wouldn't believe me. So I'll tell you the truth, we ran twice a day. In the morning, we would run on the golf course, alternating between sprints and jogging. In the afternoon, we ran around the track, the bypass, through 50 miles of road, or some combination thereof. Running with Don twice a day propelled me beyond what I could have done alone. We were running about 150 to 220 miles a month, and on those courses that we ran, we had done went out and painted lines so we knew where the mile intervals were, so we knew how fast we were running. Allison and Brian told me about my accomplishments in more detail than I probably should have listed. But there's more to the story, and this is something I think I'm safe in saying this. I don't want to come across as complaining, but and in this case I don't think I am. I'm talking more about the fact that we had coaches in a couple of schools that didn't obey the rules. We compete because as athletes we are wired that way. If we do well, we get a sense of accomplishment. If we don't, we look for ways to improve. Competing in sports is generally a structured activity with rules in order to ensure a level playing field, not one that is manipulated to benefit one particular team or individual. We expect that the coaches and officials will uphold these rules. If we do not insist on playing by the rules, if the coaches present awards to people based upon something other than performance, or they don't seek to maintain accurate records and stats, then the result is that cheaters are rewarded, records are tainted, and our awards become suspect. Coincidentally, I have 3 examples to share with you. The first one is 1967, the district track meet. I didn't know this at the time, but it fits in my narrative. It was held in Cambridge with Easton, Cambridge, Mason Lane, and Stephen Gator. I came in second in the 2 mile behind the Mason Lane runner that also won the mile, giving them 2 first place finishes. The problem is, at the time, if you ran the 2 mile, you couldn't run the mile and a half mile in the same meet. This violation on Macy's Lane was not contested by Easton or Cambridge and caused a 15-point swing in their favor. That 15-point swing would have moved us to second place instead of third. So in this case, points mattered, and in other cases, points didn't matter. The second complaint was in 1968 in the district meet. It was held in Easton, and we beat Macy's Lane by 1 point. I won the mile, which qualified me to run the state meet. The same Macy's Lane runner from the year before that ran the 2 mile and the mile wasn't there. He was still in school, or should have been, but he wasn't there. If he had been, Macy's Lane would have won the district, but that's not the problem. He didn't run in the race, therefore he didn't qualify for the state meet. So when we go to the state meet, I won the mile. I'll go ahead and tell you the story. I won the mile in the state meet. And I'm feeling pretty good. I'm 16 years old. I just won the mile in the state, and I'm a junior. And I thought, man, this is my son. It was really a good feeling. Not 2 minutes later, they're lining up for the slow heat. That Macy's Lane runner was in the first lane in the slow heat race. When he got done, they said he beat you by 0.2 seconds. Our stopwatch said I beat him by 0.3 seconds. But it doesn't really matter. The thing is, he wasn't supposed to be in the race. They gave him credit for the win in the States. And when you're 16 years old, and when you're 70 years old, it's hard to take. So, and the other thing that bothered me is that I never knew if we're going to have the Hall of Fame 3 years. I didn't know if I'd ever be in it. And I held my name back anyway until this year. But there's no way to communicate all that extra information to a group of people that are voting on it. All they see is second place officially in the state or whatever the other ones were. So I feel a lot better after voting on everybody here.
Hello. Hey, Roger. Hello, everybody. This is not what I do, but bear with me. My name is Roger Blake, and I welcome everyone here. The person I'm introducing, I know all my life. Something was a bit close. He once told me I was his idol. Never knew that. He played basketball for Eastern High. He learned a little bit from me, but he got much better than I gotta admit that. He was first team All Bayside in 1984 and 85. Of course, he graduated in 85. He was Bayside Player of the Year in 85. He was National All-American in 1985. So he had a good start. After graduation, he attended Penn State University, where he played basketball. Got his grades right, so he could stay on the team. He was the most improved player in 1987 at Penn State. He was the captain of the team at Penn State in 1989 when he graduated. He and his wife Felicia had 5 kids together. They had great State Farm insurance agents. You need insurance? All them. I didn't know he watched me play basketball for a long time because he's a 10-year veteran I am. But, it was just nice to hear that. I'm not going to be able to do what Steve did. Steve had a nice compliment. Well, I came in front of you. That's okay, So, my story is short, sweet. I'm very proud of my brother. So, I introduce my brother, my baby brother, Bruce Blake.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to give thanks. Thanks to God. Thanks to my parents. Thanks to my brothers, my sisters, my aunts, my uncles, somewhere in Texas, my cousins, because it takes a village to raise kids. I don't care which environment you choose. You need more than just the mother and the father. You need other people watching over your kids. So I'm very humbled, yet excited to be in front of you guys today. It's like a maturation of a dream come true for all the hard work that I put in to get to that point. This gives me chills. When I first got the call, actually, I had missed Gary's emails, but Mike Butler reached out to me on Facebook Messenger and said, hey, Gary Rice trying to reach you to induct it. You're going to be inducted the whole thing. I said, wow. The rest of my day was on cloud nine. I was just overjoyed. So I want to thank Gary for putting this together. I want to thank everyone who voted for me. I am humbled to be included in such a great class of people. Prior to me and those coming out, there are a lot of great athletes coming out of this small community. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. One of the things I want to stress today is when I was coming up, I was very sheltered. My parents, I couldn't leave the block. They would sit on the porch. I couldn't go past that corner, and I couldn't go past that corner. I got out of their sight, I had to pay for it. So, in between those 2 corners, I developed my basketball, which kind of explains early on when I really couldn't shoot. I didn't have a basket in between those 2 corners, but I could dribble. I could always dribble. And one thing I always wanted to do was I wanted to be tall. Dr. J was my favorite player. So I prayed to God. I wanted to be 6'6", just like I was. My mom was under 5 foot, my dad was 5'7", probably, on a good day in high school. So how was I going to become 6 foot? 6 foot 6 inches. I prayed to God. God told me to get my sleep and drink lots of milk. So what I did was, every night before I went to bed, I had a bowl of cornflakes. Every night, and I did it again, I was strict, so I had to be home before the lights came on. I was outside, but I had a bowl of cornflakes every night. And guess what height I grew to? 6 foot 6 inches. That just goes to show that some of the attributes we all need to have: faith, patience, and the other thing I learned about was pain. I learned that pain in working out and developing the muscles and the attributes to become an athlete, pain was my friend, pain was my ally. Pain lets me know that I've been beat up and bruised, but pain also let me know that I was still alive and I still had another chance the next day. As long as I was able to get up and go back out the next day, I was going to do better. So as I look down through my notes, I have talk a little bit about patience. So patience, from a very early age, I love to read and discover new things. I've always heard about people talking about, soar with the eagles. Don't be around with the chickens. Get up high, soar with the eagles. But what I did discover was that before you can soar as an eagle, what first must happen? The eagle has to lay the egg. The eagle has to sit on the egg for 35 days without any sort of inclination that the young bird inside is alive. So for 35 days, that eagle has to have faith and has to have patience. So before you can soar like an eagle, you must first sit like an eagle. And that's what I've done unknowingly throughout my entire life, because I've learned to sit like an eagle. Because I've been told I have the patience of Job. I'm very patient. I have my faith, I have a big faith in me. So what happens is, on that 35th day, when the eagle is sitting on the egg, it begins to feel heavy. It knows that the eaglet is alive and is trying to birth something new. And that's what's happened in my life. So I want to give you a couple of examples. So I remember my father signed me up for a summer basketball league. And all I knew was that those 2 points. Again, I couldn't shoot, but I could go, right? So in this summer league, Easton's a very small town, and it's very competitive. So when we're out playing, there's a lot of trash talking and stuff. So I'm in this summer league, and for the entire summer league, I was in middle school, I scored 0. I didn't play, no one could take the ball, I could dribble, I had those 2 points, I could dribble, but I scored 0 points. It was very humbling, but yet, I said, hey, my 35th day isn't here yet. I haven't been birthed yet into that basketball world. I didn't stop playing. I continued to work. So, as I fast forward a little bit into high school, I tried for the JV, Easton High. Mike Butler and Joe Haney, cousin in the back, coaches of the team. I like to think that I barely made the team. I didn't play much, so I think I barely made the team. And I just continued to work. I did not give up because I wanted to be a basketball player. Work over that summer, come back next year, I make JV again. This time I'm starting, I'm playing, I'm doing pretty well, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. But it wasn't enough. What happened at the end of my sophomore year, when Coach Henley Gabriel put me up on varsity for playoffs. So I'm coming from JV to varsity, and we're going into the playoffs. We went in to play J&M. First quarter, first substitution, who do you think it was? You calling me? I didn't come up from the game. I get in the game, I be on the second leading scorer, second most points, and I was on JV. And that was one of my 35th day moments. I felt like I had become a ball player. However, all that did was fuel me to want to be even better. So the next year, I come back, I try out for varsity. It goes pretty well. I'm on varsity, I'm starting. But at the end of the year, as I'm looking through the newspaper, they put out the all-Bayside team. I'm first team all-Bayside. And I'm just like, I'm on cloud. I'm on the same cloud that when Mike Clark told me I was going into the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I just couldn't believe it. But again, I wasn't satisfied. I continued to work. So coming into my senior year, I was full of confidence. I wasn't cocky. I was just full of confidence. I knew I could work in. I play every day, sun up to sundown. Sometimes in the dark. Look, you're in the dark, so you can't even see the ball. It doesn't really matter. Know where the ball is all the time. So coming into my senior year, I love soccer as well. So I'm playing soccer in gym class. And I go for a defensive slide. And I go down. And I break my wrist.
Oh, no.
Listen. When I played basketball, again, I was 6'6". I was the biggest, the best, the strongest. I was athletic, so I could really impose my will on most people that I played against. But I was left-hand dominant. Even if you knew I was going left, you couldn't stop me. Now I have a broken left wrist. It's October. Mr. Hayward's going crazy in the school. You playing soccer in gym? It was surreal. So what I did was, I didn't let that stop. God, at times, we all know, will put people in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. He sent me an angel that year. His name was Joe Quigley. He came to East High School to talk 1 year. Mr. Quigley, Coach Quigley, worked with me while I had a cast on my wrist. Worked on shooting, worked on everything. I missed like the first 5 games of the season, but when I came back, I played my entire senior year right hand, which was crazy. It was so unorthodox. But what it did, it made me a complete player. Because once my left wrist got stronger, now you couldn't stop me going left, now you can't stop me going right, you just can't stop me. So what Mr. Quigley also did for me, Mr. Quigley was a little bit ahead of his time. He started putting together tapes. So, let me put it back up. My parents, I knew my parents couldn't afford to send me to college. I didn't believe that I was really going to go to college, but I was okay with it because I knew I was going to be a productive person. So what Mr. Quigley did, not only did he take me around to see colleges play like Navy and Maryland, just on his own dime to get me energized for that, he started sending tapes out. He would cut up the film and send tapes out. I started getting letters from as far west as UCLA, Virginia, Maryland, Temple, Penn State. Just loads and loads of people who wanted me to play with them. Ultimately, when I made my decision, then it was April 1985, little small house on South Street, right in the middle of town. TV station comes in, unheard of back in those days. TV station, bright lights. Yeah, my parents were watching me actually sign my national letter of intent to go to Penn State University. That was another one of my 35th day moments. Go to Penn State. Everyone on the team was a high school summer. So I had to fight and claw my way to the top again. Took me a year or two, but I didn't give up. I was a good player, I got player of the week for the conference honors. But what I'm most proud of is that I was able to be a part of something bigger than just an individual, but I was able to contribute to a team. When you have that realization that you can help move the needle, it really resonates. At least it does with me. So, get back to my notes real quick. What I would like to do now, because I talked a little bit about having faith and the patience and that 35th day, I want to share with you some additional 35th day moments, because that 35th day is nothing more than a symbolic gesture of something birthing new into your life. So for me, barely making JV as a ninth grader, and then ending up as player of the year for the whole Bayside, that was a 35th day moment for me. Knowing my parents couldn't send me to college, but working with Joe Quigley, Coach Joe Quigley, for 1 year, I'm telling you, he was an angel, and helped me get to college for free. That was a 35th day. Fighting through homesickness on a campus larger than the town of Easton. Yeah, I struggled a little bit athletically and academically that first year and a half. It was unreal. But getting through that and graduating was a 35th day moment. Becoming a captain of the team and earning academic honors and conference multiple times. That was a 35th day moment. Helping Penn State, which is mostly known as it's a football powerhouse, football school, but helping Penn State basketball become nationally ranked and make a tournament, a postseason tournament. In how many years do you think? 35. First time in 35 years, we made a postseason tournament. Another 35th moment.
Amen.
First hearing about the Hall of Fame for Easton and being introduced as a member 35 days ago. Meeting my soulmate and celebrating 17 years of marriage tomorrow. Guess how old I was? Although she did not see me play in high school or in college, she is my biggest fan. I hope you see my point. Faith and patience and waiting on that 35th day can make all the difference in your life. Don't give up. As I close, I want to recognize all the former Hall of Fame inductees and the ones that's coming after us, and those here today. Again, I'm humbled. Remember, before you can soar like an eagle, you must first sit like an eagle. I'm very proud of this accomplishment. The Warriors. Dale? accepted to the board. I'm here to give it to them. And I don't have too much to say, but I was young when we played basketball, but I used to travel with them when I was younger, distinctly women in baseball. And we used to keep getting it. Leave the high school at 5 in the morning, come back about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, take the gas house on Sunday. So, I don't have much to say, but I'm here now.
Rocky will end up being the last one tonight because Bill Turner is, I already said it earlier, but he's, has a personal issue, so he'll be doing this next year. Okay, I'm going to introduce Rocky Ainsworth. I've known Rocky for 61 years. We played on the same team in Little League Baseball and Little League Football. And Rocky was a star on both those teams. But I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to now because I've already explained myself earlier. We had a decent team those 2 years, but we didn't win the championship until last year when Rocky was already on both teams. So I don't know what happened. There are certain quality sport athletes that have an extra spark or talent that puts them ahead of other players. Even if you don't know much about the sport, you can often sense or appreciate the ability they display when fielding the ball, shooting a three, taking out a tackle, or scoring a goal. Rocky was one of those players in football, basketball, and baseball. He earned 9 letters in those 3 sports. And we don't know if he were actually eligible in those 3 sports to play as a freshman to get a varsity letter, but he received a varsity letter 9 times. He was elected captain of all 3 teams in his senior year and was president of the tribe as well. In his junior year in football, Rocky shared quarterback duties with a senior and was the more versatile of the 2 quarterbacks on a 6-2-1 team. In basketball that year, he averaged about 11 points a game on a 19-2 team led by Albert Brooks. In baseball, his junior year, Rocky was named the best baseball player. He was also named best athlete in his junior class. In his senior year, Rocky was quarterback leader of a good football team that also included Tom Lord, a member of the Hall of Fame here, via his 1968 basketball team. As a senior, Rocky broke the record for most touchdown passes in the game when he threw for 5 TDs and a 41-25 win over Carl Richardson. In this game, he ran for 92 yards in 9 carries and was 15 for 21 in passing for 194 yards. And there were 2 drop passes that day. Another way of looking at it is this. They scored a touchdown and 1/3 of Rocky's completed passes in that game. According to the Star Democrat, he helped set 3 records during the James Independent game. He completed a record 23 passes 39 attempts for a record 257 yards, and Glenn Slaughter caught 11 of those passes, also a single game record. ECP Cambridge 29-13, I believe it was homecoming, which made the season even better. Even the fans set a record with 2,300 fans in attendance. Rocky completed 14 of 25 pass attempts for 127 yards and 3 third-quarter touchdown passes to Glenn Slaughter. For the season, he completed 139 of 254 passes, 55% completion rate, for a record 1,505 yards. He rushed for 421 yards in the 111 carries and accounted for 1,926 yards, total yards, and 365 plays, which is also a record. In basketball, senior year, that was the undefeated 22-0 state championship basketball team. And the team was full of strong individual performers. But they played as a team. If someone had it all night, there was always someone else to step in and play at a higher level. Rocky was the point guard of that team, much like Steve Blake was for Maryland. Passing the ball, setting up the play, taking the shot when it was over. With all the firepower they had, Tom, Warren, Kenny, and Charles, and others, you needed someone to get the ball to the right person in a certain game situation and accounting for the opposing team's defense. According to the Star Democrat, Rocky was regarded as the best defensive player on the shore, and Gary Schaefer agreed. From what I understand, Gary Schaefer agreed or signed in Rocky's senior year. He was a basketball and then baseball coach. So when Rocky's senior year playing baseball, Gary Schaefer signed Rocky and Scott Pierce for the task of figuring out who should get the order. Scott and Rocky met, and they agreed to give it to Scott. I have no idea how they worked that out, but they did. Detailed baseball stats aren't available except for what the paper provided, like winning pitcher, key hits, and the box scores. So we don't have many details there. But Rocky went on to play as a starting quarterback in his freshman year for Maryland State. He also played junior college baseball and basketball after that, and then went in the Air Force. While in the Air Force, he continued to play in several leagues around the world, and even played for the Spanish national baseball team for 3 years. It would be a great pleasure to introduce Rocky Ainsworth as the first member to be inducted into the Hall of Fame as part of the team and as an individual member.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's definitely an honor to be here among all you athletes, family, friends. My niece is here with me. Mr. Lord, man, it's great to see you. Great science teacher, never ran and never want to run again. Thanks again to the Hall of Fame Committee for all the work that you've done throughout the first 3 years of your existence. Gary, thanks for you taking the effort to start all this up and keep it going. It's truly amazing. So, you know, it's been said that what Gary was talking about earlier about the athletes of the day are a lot better than the athletes of old. I can tell you that, and now they don't do it, but when we were kids, football season, when it started, we played football. When it ended, we played basketball. When basketball ended, we played baseball. There was no such thing as weight training or trying to get physically better, bigger. We just didn't know about that. We didn't know the science, physical science, we just didn't know that as well as we do today. So the athletes of the day are definitely much stronger, faster, bigger than than what we were in high school. It was an honor to walk on that football field again last night, which I haven't done since 1967. So I did go to Maryland State and left at 3 months, started a family, and then I was playing in a pickup basketball game in Cambridge, Maryland. And as all of us Warriors know, Cambridge is a, dirty word. There are evil people over there. It's kind of like when we were kids too, when I would go, try to go to St. Michael's or go to Tillman. If you got caught in Tillman, and the Tillman men or people knew that you were over there, they'd raise the bridge on your ass and you were not getting out of that field. So playing a pickup game over in Cambridge, one of the coaches from the junior college saw me playing and said, hey, what are you doing, Alex? I'm working a bank in Tillman. What do you got in mind? Well, you want to come down and play baseball and basketball for me at junior college? Are you kidding me? Let's go. Packed up bag and baggage, my dad moved us down there and played there for 2 years. And then joined the Air Force in 1971 and didn't finish college yet, but when I finished college at Berry University when I was stationed at Homestead, finally got my degree after about 15 years. I was convinced by a couple of 3-star generals to go to OTS. I went to OTS and got a commission, and after 34 years in the military, I retired as a lieutenant colonel. The coaches that we had in high school were not paid a whole lot of money. And I'm guessing most of the time it was probably zero. It could have been, if Easton just didn't have the money to pay coaches. So here we are, these individual teachers kind of volunteer all their time and that was many hours of teaching. And then after they finished teaching, they would spend many, many hours on the field trying to make us better people and better athletes. So my hat's off to all you coaches out there in the world that are giving your time and your energy to make our young people much better than they could have been or will be. And hopefully they'll be better people in the future. And again, Tracy, thank you so much for coming, and it's definitely an honor, and thank you very much.
Something that sort of just clicked in my mind with him saying how long he's been since he's been in that field. I look forward to working with Gary, and hopefully with all the Hall of Fame members that have been inducted, offering a card that allows you to get to all of our home events at a free charge for all that you've done for the sports and for our school and for being recognized as our top athletes over the years. I do want to congratulate you on currently being that lead director. I think that's the least I can do, and hopefully pass it on to the next people that are inducted into a lifetime member card into our events that are paid events. So we'll work on that with Gary.
I think I can ask you something about an hour and a half. You are serious? I think we can hang around here for a while. I think they have another event later. I'm not even sure what time it is. About 45. So we got some time. Maybe we can still tell a few stories or something like that. Anybody else have any comments?
I do.
Unsolicited.
Unsolicited. No, I just want to thank everybody for coming today, and thank you, Gary, for everything that you've done to get it up and running up. And it's been said a couple times today, but really, truly do appreciate that. Over the past year, I've kind of worked to put together a different way of gathering the different votes and how to get the information out on the different accolades that everyone has gathered over the years in terms of nominations. So if you have any other nominations you'd like to include, please, I will put out my information and email so that everyone can send those in. Also, in terms of the new inductees, congratulations. You will see an email come from me next year so that you can participate in the voting. We have all of our members participate in that voting process. So thank you for coming today.
Feel free to use the backdrop, any pictures you'd like taken, you know, family members, things like that. Happy to take pictures that they can be put online. This is our website that Gary has developed. I would like to give you a letter to look up anything, but the more pictures you have, the more you can post up.